Hey, what is up? It's day 3, Must a Minute building stream, building Must a Minute stream, and we are live on platforms. Yep. And cool. Yeah, so we last couple of days we've been building out Must a Minute, a new tool for turning your meeting recordings into helpful meeting minutes with the help of some AI and tools like that. We spent day 1 kind of building out our flow, kind of planning what we're going to build, and looking at the entity kind of relationship diagram that we built, and then we started setting up our Rails app. Yesterday we focused on a little bit of CSS, and we also started setting up our first controller so we can create our meetings in our tool. Today I want to focus a little bit on actually uploading the recordings and how that might work. I've only got an hour and a half, I think, until I've got to go, so this is going to be a shorter stream today. I've got some stuff on this afternoon, so we're going to kind of jump straight into it here. Let's see. I think it's working fine. Looks okay. Cool. Let's get into it. Right. So remember, we've been building a Ruby on Rails application. If I quickly spin that up here, it's running in the background. I'm going to open up our code here. Now, today's plan, we've got fresh code base. We're still no work in progress right now. Posting these controllers. Right, so the next plan is to kind of create a way of uploading. We've got our meeting here, and the thing that I'd like to upload is a podcast, because I'm not going to use one of our meetings that I currently have that I'd normally put in there. So I've got this Live at Rails World podcast in there. So let's just quickly create a new meeting and do remote Ruby live at Rails World. There. And this is where we're going to have our kind of upload page. Now, I think we're going to create a space for this to live. So I think the best way of doing that is perhaps to have the recording as its own separate active record model. I want it kind of to be treated separately, even though typically we think we're probably going to only ever have one recording for each meeting. There's like a one-to-one relationship there. I think it makes more sense to have the recording as a thing that you can create and update and delete and destroy and stuff like that. The other bit, before we get into like creating my controller, I kind of want to decide how I'm going to store this. I know that I need the file in S3, and I might even need to have some sort of processes happen to convert the file to the appropriate format. I think we'll not worry too much about conversion right now. We'll just make sure we upload and restrict it to the formats that AWS Transcribe allows. In fact, that's a good point. AWS Transcribe formats. What formats does AWS Transcribe support? Let's see there. Data input. It supports MP3. Says recommended format is FLAC or WAV with PCM 16-bit encoding. We're going to upload an MP3. I believe this is an MP3 file, so that's what we're going to upload there. But we'll look at conversions and stuff later. But for now, we'll just do the MP3 since it's supported. Active storage, I just want to get a quick overview on how active storage works. It's not something I've actually used in much detail before. We can use an S3 service, which is what we're going to be doing. We're going to be uploading it to a regional bucket. It looks like there's probably some extra stuff in there. And let's just try it with active storage perhaps, and we'll go through setup and getting active storage working. And then I think we'll see if active storage works for us, and if not, then we'll go back on it. How does we attach a file to a record? So we'll have one attached file. So our recording, so I think what we'll do is we'll create a recording model, and that'll have an attached recording. And then, or a file rather, the recording will have a file attached to it, and potentially some other data potentially at some point. we will, yeah, I think that's what we'll do. And then we'll kind of go through this flow and generate all of that. Yeah, let's do that. I don't think I'm going to use the scaffold command. I think I'm going to generate the model first, similar to like it says here, with the attachment. So before we get to that point though, let's just kind of go back up. What we'll do is I think we can't use the local one, but I think we're probably going to have to do that to begin with. Let's just do active storage install. So open up the terminal window here. We'll go back almost a minute out. Bin Rails active storage install. Now let's just check to see what happened in our code there when we ran that command. That command's going to do some stuff. It's going to add a new file by the looks of it, and all it's really going to do is just create a new table. It's updated our schema. It's running a migration here. And what it's going to do is add tables for active storage blobs, active storage attachments, active storage variant records, and set some primary keys as well. So these are all tables that I don't need to worry about too much. Active storage is going to take care of those. I'm going to then run the next command, which was the Rails db migrate, and that will just make sure that those tables are created. That will create the schema. Next step on here is, now that we've created those 3 tables, and there's a bit of a description of what those are doing there. Source data about the files, polymorphic table about the attachments, and then we're not really going to use variant tracking, but if we wanted to keep variants of a file at some point, we could do that. Declare active storage services and config/storage YAML. Each service uses application name, requisite configuration, and free services. Now I'm going to need to grab a secret key and a secret access key at some point. I'm going to have to keep that off stream. I need to figure out how to do that. I'll probably have to create a separate scene, which isn't sharing a screen right now. But that's fine. Let's see. So for each service your application uses, provide a name and requisite configuration. The example below declares free services in local test. Okay. And then we choose which service we're going to use in our config file. And I think we're going to, let's do local to begin with, because active storage will work kind of the same regardless of how those systems are used. We are going to need to use Amazon S3 in local development as well, because we do need to get our file into AWS transcribe, and then we need to call our service to say it's been transcribed. So let's see. So we should have a config file, config/storage in our thing. Do we have that? Minimize some of these files and folders. Config. We have a storage file here. We've got test, and it says to use disk. And we've got local, and it says to use disk as well. And then it's going to keep it in the folder called storage. And yeah, then at some point we'll do this. We'll have to do the bin credentials edit to set AWS secrets, the access key ID, and the secret access key. That will be kept in there. And then we'll set our bucket as well, Rails end. Fine, so we'll leave this as it is for now. We'll come back and add in the Amazon bit later. What I'll probably do as well is, we'll see what we get to on this. We'll do the secret access ID. Now let's go to here, just check what else it wanted us to do. So next thing we need to check is whether our kind of config environment config is set up to call the right one. So let's see, development, which storage service. It was written right there, wasn't it? Local. So it's going to use the local storage, which is this one, which is the one that's in the folder called storage. In production, service is also set up to do local. We will need to change that at some point, but for now that's fine. So we're not going to bother configuring it just yet. It's telling us about that, and we are then going to public. Cool. So then we're going to actually generate our model with our kind of thing. So we're going to have our meeting recording that we need to create. So let's just go into here. So Rails G generate, and we're going to generate. Do I generate the model or do I generate a whole scaffold? Now, if I generate the scaffold, it's going to create the controller and the model, the views. If I generate the model, it's just going to generate the model without generating any views. This model, we're not really going to ever do edit, perhaps. We're just going to upload the recording and delete the recording. And I think maybe it just makes sense to start a little bit, like we'll write some more of the code ourselves. So we'll just do recording. And it has a file that is an attachment. Is that how that was set up? So we have Rails generate model recording file. And perhaps I should have probably committed before doing that, but we'll continue. Let's see. In fact, I'm just gonna discard these things that were just there. So recording was added, schema hasn't changed yet. This create recordings can be discarded as well. We've not done the migration on that yet. This can't be changing. Recordings. These, that was the active storage migration, and this was the schema change for having active storage. We'll add these and we'll commit them, and then we'll just do the config, I suppose, install active storage, and now we can do Rails generate model file attachment. So what's that done? It's created a open the file. We've got our recording class here with our file attached. We've got our migration. There's no data in here other than the fact that it has the file attached. The column is stored on the file, not recording. We've got our recording spec, and it just says file nil. That's kind of the default for the factory, and then we've got our recording spec itself, which is where we're going to write our tests at some point. And we're not doing really anything advanced with the recording right now, so I don't really have any tests. We will have some tests at some point. I think for now, like if we were going to be a bit more test driven with this, the test that would make sense would be to continue building our system test, and perhaps we can do that, where we upload and kind of check to see whether we can upload a file. So let's do that, and then that will help us think a little bit about the flow. So we will do that. Again, we'll perhaps use ChatGPT to take out the legwork of some of this. Fine, building Rails app. I've got active storage setup. I'm using RSpec. Can you write me a test to test that I can upload a file and view the file? Actually, I guess that's kind of going to be our first aim. Upload the recording, listen to the recording. The file is an audio file. No, that's relevant, but so here's something interesting. I think I mentioned this before. I got this idea from Jason Sweat, who does a meetup, Code with Jason meetup each week. And he uses this custom instruction here, which is kind of getting ChatGPT to respond with questions. You can ask it to do follow-up questions. I find this really useful for kind of getting a bit more data, and like sometimes GPT is a little bit too eager to please. It's still a little bit too eager to please. It's tried to do too much here. It's asked me the questions, but then gone ahead and kind of given me a rough example anyway, which is kind of might be useful. I think for me, like, let's just quickly do the one, like, the model is recording. The attachment attribute is file. No validation just yet. Or perhaps we can just say actually it needs to be one of these. Black or wow. It needs to be one of these formats. Needs to be one of those formats. Cool. Needs to be one of those formats. What was the next question? What is the controller? It's going to be a recordings controller, I suppose. Probably nested. Then meetings controller. I think URL will be meetings ID recordings. I guess a direct download link makes sense for the show action of the recordings controller returns the file. I don't know how does this work with storage. No authentication just yet. So this is done as a request spec. I kind of don't want to do it as a request spec. I'd like the test to be a system test with capybara and Chrome drivers. Wait for it to finish. Way too eager. That means automating the process of the user visiting the meeting page, uploading files to the recording, then viewing that recording. That's what I want. We don't need this because we've already got that in our code, in our kind of Rails helper. That is a system test. it's going to create the meeting. Yep. And then we're going to get our audio, which is going to be our spec, fixtures, files, test audio. And then we're going to attach a file, fill in any form fields if you don't have anything, create recording, select the audio, and then that should be the recording file. I think that kind of makes sense. Let's grab that and just see. Obviously, it's going to fail initially. I'm going to create our system test recording spec.p. Again, this should be, I say recordings, but it's rather recording. We're going to create a meeting. Let's do that in the same way we created this meeting. And this is going to be Rails, well, Ruby, remote Ruby, Rails world. So that's going to create our meeting. Then our audio path is we're going to put this into our fixtures folder. Fixtures folder. We're going to create our files, and then we reveal like Finder. We're going to upload our live Rails world free MP3 file. We're going to grab that. Live Rails world MP3. Now the reason I've chosen that as the test audio is that when it comes to AWS Transcribe, that audio, that podcast actually has several people speaking. And I found that might be quite a good approach for kind of capturing, dealing with the AWS Transcribe stuff as we go through this and identifying speakers and all of that. So it's a good one for like the future of where this project's going. So get that podcast there. We don't need this because in our Rails help file we already include a driven by Selenium Chrome headless, and so we can get that. So we're going to view the new meeting recording path, or visit that with the meeting, and we're going to attach a file, and we're going to click on create recording, and we want it to say that the recording is successfully created. We want that to be an audio tag, and then we're going to grab that last recording that we've just uploaded. We're going to visit the meeting recording path, and we're going to expect it to have a selector that matches the audio with the source, matches the file name. Doesn't prove that the file is actually available there, but it kind of proves that we can go through this process and upload a file and let's skip this one. Now I think one thing I might do actually is we took out the where is Rails? One thing I do kind of want to do here is before, maybe I will do this before and just set driven by to Selenium Chrome. What I would quite like to do is not have the headless version, just so I can see how this plays out. And so what we'll do is we'll do rspec/system/recording spec. So we'll run it, and it should spin up Chrome. No, because we have to run our bin/rails db migrate, because we added some new stuff to our database. And then it's going to run. And already it's failed because there is no new meeting recording path. And so the next step to solve that problem will be to create that in the roots. Now, we don't even have a controller yet. So let's create our controller. I'm going to create a recordings controller. application controller. Controller there, and then we're going to do inside our meeting resources. We're going to open a block, and meetings have recordings. And now let's see. Still failing. Oh, action new couldn't be found for recordings. Makes sense. We need a new controller. New. On it. Missing a template for that. So now the next bit is down here in our views. We need to create our recordings. Recording/new.html.drb. That's the right one. Yep. And then we're going to run that page again. We now get a blank page because we've not got anything in here, and it now says that we have failed because it couldn't find the input before. And so let's just throw together a quick form. And let's just borrow what it does here. What are we using for form with these days? Let's just borrow this. In this case, it's not the meeting, it's the recording though. And actually this would be, let's just do a underscore form partial. And we'll copy this. This will be the recording. If there's any errors, that will went there. And we'll have our file. File. Now, what does active storage say about the form? Form hidden field, replacing versus adding. File field is the one. Submit. We're not going to bother with the show this thing. So you might have back to meetings or back to meeting. Recording.meeting is where we're going to try and link to. That doesn't exist right now because there isn't a relationship between the recording and the meeting. Reminds me I've missed something on the migration. Hey Adderall, how's it going? Back to meetings, we're recording our meeting. Yeah, so actually we've scoped this into there, but what we haven't done is scope it by the thing. We'll do Rails DB rollback. Or maybe we don't need to roll back, but Rails G migration add meeting to recording, and what we're going to do here is meeting references. I'm stuck trying to do auth and can't get it over. Can't get over it. I'm thinking about rewriting the API in a different stack. What stack are you using? The stack is usually not the problem. I'm definitely making it harder than others. TypeScript, Apollo Server, Express, Prisma, Postgres. Yeah, yeah, so what are you using for, yeah, I guess you're kind of rolling, are you rolling your own authentication then? Or just Prisma? I can't remember, I've not played around with Prisma too much. I've done a lot of stuff with GraphQL and Apollo and Express and TypeScript, but I've not used Prisma. Does that have some auth stuff to it as well? This is recordings, then we'll do Rails DB migrate. But what I might do is Rails, back. And then actually in here I'll just do add reference. That how it works. Rails, migrate. Try and consolidate these. I don't want to create loads of creation. What does the schema look like now? I can send you the repo. I'm going to take a look. Yeah, sure. Send it over and we'll take a quick look, see what we've got going on. Bench. Cool, so you've got Bench Tracker API. I'm not really experienced with building APIs. That's right. How, like, what's your kind of, are you new to coding in general, or is it just APIs that you're new to, or what's your background experience? Follow server, Prisma client. Yeah, Prisma's the schema, I think. And dev trying to do full stack out this. I think it was really hard today, like trying to get into full stack, because there is just so much. Like when I started, it was just PHP and HTML and CSS, and you pretty much full stack out the box. And then kind of JavaScript, and now there's just so much, like Apollo and GraphQL and Express, and I kind of feel a bit like a mountain at times. Did some stuff in Rails, but I wanted to do an Express API along GraphQL. That's fair. I've done a lot of Express stuff. I'm actually fairly new. I've only been playing around with Rails in the last couple of years. I just got tired with GraphQL, to be honest. I've done so much GraphQL stuff. And Redux and React and React Native and all of that. Source, index. Yeah, so Express server, Apollo, Express 4, so it's GraphQL wrapped around Express. Yeah, and then there's your queries. Let's try and grab. Let's see what the queries look like. Proper auth with a bearer token. Yeah. How was I doing that? I think I used a piece of middleware. So in the kind of, I'm not sure it's Express. Like I wasn't particularly using Express when I was doing a lot of GraphQL stuff. You have a function to attach a token to an account. Create new user, that's a mutation, I guess, too. I guess there'll be a mutation associated with that. Let's just take a look at the user one. So you've got register user and login user. When you call login user with the login user input, you call the login function from user service. The login function down here takes an email and password. You find the unique email. There's no user. Password is valid. You compare the passwords. Check whether it's valid or not. Then you get the JWT key from the environment variable. You sign the token with the user ID and the email. And then you update that token to the user. I'm not sure, like, curious around, like, how come... I suppose if you're treating this as, like, a... Whenever I think about JSON Web Tokens, I think about OAuth, and one of the values of JSON Web Token is you don't actually need to store it, and it doesn't need to be stateful. You can validate it without it being kind of stored anywhere, other than the client of the API. So you don't actually need to store token to prove that it's valid. Now you might want to store the token if you want a way of being able to revoke the token. In that case, typically OAuth would do something with like a refresh token and an access token as two separate tokens, and the refresh token is stored on the server and it can be revoked, and the access token is kind of a little bit more client only. But yeah, you return the token, which makes sense. And then I guess what you then probably want to be able to do is when you're calling your expense service, so your expense resolver, you're grabbing it from the user ID. So you've got this args user ID. And then yeah, so just check. Yeah, so you've got your mutations there, and your query for the expense resolver. And you get expenses. So in your type there, expenses, you pass in the user ID as a query. There's an argument. Careful that I can take it from the token, since token stores info like that. So I next really. Is it your plan that the get expenses by user ID and get expense by ID queries are protected? Like you have to be logged in to access those? Is that what you're thinking there? Yeah. Yeah, okay, cool. So I don't remember how. Yeah, so I think one of the things that when I did a lot of GraphQL stuff, I was using GraphQL as a middleware layer, kind of as an API gateway as such. So it would just pass requests on to a RESTful API behind it, or several microservice-based RESTful APIs. And authentication was kind of handled by those services. So I would just pass the header roll on. But if you're doing it, I think there's a probably have something like this on their docs. And they have updated their platform docs since I've been here. Authenticating requests with the Apollo router. So authorization directives is what I was thinking about. That might be one approach. And so, yeah, so you'd have like @authenticated, and that directive would then run this little piece of middleware as part of GraphQL, as part of Apollo. There is just a JWT authentication plugin now. Oh, only available on GraphOS Enterprise. This is the problem I have with like this stuff now. It's just anyway. Fine. So what you really want to be able to do is have you want to be able to create your own directive. So if I don't have to store the JWT in a database, how do I rebuild that? So you see that, where was she doing it? In the user service, you have when you do the JWT.sign, that comes from this JSON Web Token package, npm.js.com, JSON Web Token, and so you're calling the sign method on it, but there's also a verify, and then there's another one as well, which I can't this verify one will both decode, that was the other one, decode. Verify, you can pass it a token and you pass it the secret key that you used. So when you sign it, you pass in your object and you pass in your key. When you verify it, you pass in the token and you pass in the key. And what it will return is either an error if the token was tampered with or is invalid in some way. And if it doesn't return an error and it is valid rather, then it will return the contents of the token. So whatever object you put into the token is what you're going to get out when you call the verify function. It'll also, obviously, if it expired, so it might be invalid because it expired as well. So if it's expired, it'll also check that. There's a weird Christmassy tone there on that random playlist I'm on. Yeah. So I'm trying to find an example here. Yeah, decoded equals JWT verify token. You pass in the key. And if it decodes it properly, then it will. And you can either do it synchronously or you can do it kind of. How do you attach a JWT to a user? You're going to generate the JWT, the token, and then you're going to send it to the client. And then the client's going to store that JWT. Then every time they make a request to your API, they should send it as a header to your API. And you'll take that header, verify it, get the decoded result. And what you did when you create the token was you stored the user ID inside the token. So once you verify it on the next request and all the future requests that come in with that token, you will see the user ID in there. And because the JWT is kind of formed up of 3 parts, in fact, if you go to JWT info, is it jwt.info? jwt.io. If you paste your JWT into here on the left hand side, what you'll see on the right hand side is the kind of decoded version. And it's made up of 3 parts. The first part is kind of algorithm token type information. You don't really ever need to worry about that too much. You can configure that, but that's done when you're creating your token. You've got the payload, which is the data that's inside the token. Inside there is going to be your user ID. And then down here is the signature. So this is the key. This blue bit, is kind of a signed kind of thing that ensures that the first 2 bits can't be tampered with. So if I came through in here and said that like that was my key, how do you secure each mutation with the JWT? So that's where you want to, so there's a couple of different approaches on that, and that's what I was looking at in GraphQL. The person's going to send a request to your, they're going to send their mutation, and you want them to send the mutation along with the token as a header in their request. So you'll see kind of the request they're making, and then you'll be able to check the authorization header, and inside there should be the token. And then you'll want to call verify function. The challenging bit is where to put that. And let's just see what ChatGPT suggests. By building a follow GraphQL server, I want to send an authentication token as a header. How do I verify for my authentication? Should I create corrective? Corrective is one way. There's also the context function. That's it. Context function sounds good. Yeah, so I think there's a combination of things you can do. It's kind of coming back to me now when I last did this. So you can show me how to do it in context. You say you've got a function that verifies it in utils. Just check that. Utils, you've got extract selections. Seem like it. Fair enough. Where's that being used? So, yeah, this is really the key piece here. I find that this is probably the best approach. So let me just try and find shortcut again. You create your Apollo server here, and you pass in your type defs and your resolvers. There is a third thing that you can pass in. Apollo server. Apollo v4 doesn't support contact, is it not? Get rid of the context. New high-level changes. You can pass your context initialization function directly to the framework integration function instead of the Apollo server constructor. That was the Apollo server free constructor, and now you pass it into your kind of server constructor. Functions are named argument passed into your web integration function. So the express middleware potentially is where, and I think the reason they've done that is because really what's happening with context is you're taking the request, the raw request from your kind of whichever middleware, whichever web integration function you're using. That's where your kind of integration point between Apollo and that web integration is. So you're using the Express middleware here, the Express middleware server. So it looks like potentially your Express middleware server here. You can pass in an object, and that's your on the context. So here you would write some code. Let's just do this quickly. Actually, why can't we just do dot? I love that GitHub added this. I don't know if you know about this, but when you press the period key, the full stop key on your keyboard, when you're on a GitHub repo, it just opens up VS Code on the web. Yeah, so you can kind of do something in here like object context. And then the point of doing this would be that in here, you didn't read the docs thoroughly. That's fine. We all skim read the docs. You in here could call your JWT.verify, and if there is a token, so what you're doing here is like request.headers.authorization. I'm pseudocoding because I don't entirely remember some of the stuff. If that exists, then you can do JWT.verify. So how you want to write it, but wait, maybe I'll commit that. Oh, can you take a look? Yeah, sure. Yeah, if you let me know when you've committed it, then I'll take a quick look. But yeah, in the context, you check whether there's an authentication header. If there is, you can verify it, and then you can get the decoded value out of that. So you'd be headers authorization. You probably actually want to grab the headers. Might be lowercase. To be honest. I can't remember if it gets normalized in some way. Dot place. I know that you probably want to send bearer. Beginning. And you verify a token with the JWT key. user equals decoded.user ID or whatever was in there, and then you could return the user there. And then when you're running your mutation, you can check to see whether the user exists, or like current user, or however you want to store this. You can then get access to that in the context of each request you make. Let's take a quick look at your thing you mentioned. You mentioned it. I'm still as for functions. Okay, cool. Yeah, that's exactly what I was writing there. So, auth header is your header initialization. You wouldn't necessarily need to store the entire request in your context. I don't think that would be there. But as you just seen, the Express middleware, you can pass in and you can get access to requests directly. That will get you your authentication header. If it's there, you're going to split based on the bearer and grab the second part. That makes sense. You might end up with a space. Probably need a space here if you're going to take that approach. I usually just replace it with an empty string, but this probably might be quicker. I'm not entirely sure. I think either makes sense. You basically want a bit after the token, after the word bearer. If there is a token, then we're going to try throw the error. Yeah, you can. Yeah, I suppose this makes sense. Like, you probably want to throw the error if you can't get the thing. This gives you a bit more control of throwing the error, so this makes sense. You're returning the user here. In the approach that I mentioned before, you're actually probably setting the context itself, and then your kind of mutation, you can just check to see whether a user exists or not. You know that if there's no user, then they didn't try logging in. If there is a user, they logged in and they were verified. If they tried to log in and tampered with the thing or expired, then it would have thrown an error, so it would have never got to your kind of mutation anyway, because if you throw an error in the context, then it will just abort the rest of the request. Yeah. Hope that helps. Yeah, it looks cool. It looks quite clean and easy to kind of navigate around, so cool. Let's see, what was I doing? So I was adding in, I think I needed a fresh look at that. Sometimes it just helps to kind of take a break and kind of fresh look, fresh eyes. Okay, so I added this, updated the migration. The schema now has the index for the meeting ID, and it's in there. I can now access, this is the new path, this is for new. We're going to render a form out there, similar to how it does here. Recording, recording. Recording.meeting should exist now. It won't, because there's something I need to fix there, but okay, let's see, what does our test now do? Rake, not rake, our spec. Oh, lots of errors there. What was the error? It flashed so quickly. No method errors. And that's because recording doesn't exist, because we've not set recording. That's because we're not setting any recording here. Our recordings controller needs to set a new recording. Recording equals recording.new. we probably want to set the meeting to let's just set the meeting set meeting, and then we can just do a call action set meeting. We're going to set the meeting in all of them, and then we can just do at meeting in there. Is that many? Yep. Let's see. Unknown attribute meeting. I did do a screenshot. Let's just see what it did. Unknown attribute meeting for recording. So that's because our recording doesn't realise it belongs to a meeting. And now it belongs to a meeting. Should be able to run that again. No error. What's this one? No recordings par. And that because it belongs inside the thing, and I think that we also need to, so this needs to be like recording.meeting recording or something like that. Is that right? To know that it's, there we go. Now what? So it made it to that page, and I got where we expected. Alright, I'm going to go and try and finish that authentication so I can find you the front end. Awesome, enjoy. Thanks for stopping by, it was nice kind of looking for your code. And thank you for the follow as well, I didn't realise you'd mention that earlier, I can't remember. Let's see. Recording was successfully created. It was expecting to see that, but it didn't do that. So I'm going to quickly run through it myself and see what it says. So meetings, 8 recordings, new. And so we should be able to upload our file. Just drag and drop it into there. And then it should click create recording. Let's just check our code here. Like I don't. Our recording spec is to attach a file from the file path, and then it says click on create recording. We have a button called click on create recording. Oh, and then it just reloads the page. That makes sense. We probably do have the recording now though. Let's just check here. So if we did Rails C, go to the Rails console. We'll be back soon, I guess. We can do recording.org. Okay, we didn't actually create any recordings then. And that is because we actually haven't created any code to actually create the recordings. If I actually went in here and created the recording and then went back to this console, what we'd probably see is it tried to make a request and it just didn't do anything. You'll see up there somewhere, recordings 404 not found, so it just kind of bugged out. We haven't created our create controller, create method on our controller. So let's just do that. Def create. Again, recording equals recording new. Let's see how we need to approach this with active storage. So the create on our meeting looks like this. Grab that. And so what we're doing here is recording save, recording, where it's like meeting, recording, URL or something. Create this separate private method. Create all the meeting params, and we're going to pass in the meeting as well. Over the top. Now I don't know if you have to do anything specific for active storage here, or whether it just handles it. Perhaps it just handles it. Let's see how that works. So we'll refresh. We will grab our file, upload. Meeting params. That makes sense. What does ChatGPT suggest? This meeting and the meeting params to kind of be blended, but yeah, I need to merge. That's what I need to do. This is like random open file music. Playlist I'm on it today. So I merged the meeting params with the meeting and grab that. I refresh, choose the file. Keep forgetting that I need to development. Just a minute's out. We haven't stored anything in storage yet. In our specs, pictures, files, private Rails. No route matches the show. That is about to start. Okay. So there's no show. That's fine. Let's just do the show quickly then. Def show. And we're already setting our meeting. What we're not doing is setting the recording. And so we should probably set the recording for the show action. And then what we'll do is down here, we'll create a new file for show.html.brb. And what we really want to do here is actually render out the image tag, but in this case it's like an audio tag. And I don't know if there is like an audio tag. Displaying images, videos, and PDFs. Let's see if I can just render out the H1 recording, and then we'll do recording file. Just see what it does. What it says. Let's just see as well. Rails C. recording.all. That should be 1, right? 1. There it is. File name. There's our file name. Our test probably isn't going to work that well because actually I don't just want the file name. I need the whole like actually rendering the file. Is there there was an image tag? Is there an audio tag? Not it. There is an audio tag. And it has returned the file name there. Kind of dealt with that. And that's the file to download. Let's see. Rails audio tag doesn't show anything. No, is it? Seems to be in place. Oh, it does seem to exist since it asked me to download it. Control's true. There we go. That's what I was missing. It's a separate. There. That's a bit loud. Cool. So we've got our recording there. And that's actually in the page. So does that pass our test? Probably not, and I think I'll know why. Yeah, so we just uploaded the recording, put that in there. And so we were missing the controls true. That's what we need to add to get that in there. And now let's just see if our spec passes. How does it go? Does it go through the whole flow now? Uploads. And it fails. Redirect to meeting recording URL. No route matches that route. So what is the name of this meeting recordings path? Meeting recording path. That's interesting actually because it should exist now. So I should be able to go to recordings. Not there. That's new. Should be able to create the recording. Didn't mean to create it empty. It did seem to fail there. Actually, what am I doing here? The redirect inside your controller misses the meeting as a parameter. Thank you. It does. Good catch. And hey, thanks for following along as well. That was a really good catch. Now what's wrong? Recording allows a user to upload an audio file. And now it's going to be complaining surely about. Oh, that says meeting. It should say recording. Cannot find the text. Recording was successfully created. Meeting was successfully created. Again. Oh, okay. So I thought it was going to fail on the spec for recording spec. I thought it was going to fail here. Oh, but it's not exact matches. It just includes, right? That's what the asterisk is. So it includes the file name that we've uploaded. Cool. now that that works, I kind of can take this off. Obviously, we don't have a list of recordings for the meeting. And I'm also recording. Sure, thank you for streaming. Love to see some fellow Ruby devs here for some co-working. No worries. Yeah, I'm just kind of building out this app to turn meeting recordings into minutes, and so I'm going to be playing around with some stuff on here. And I was like, hey, why not live stream it? I've not done any live streaming in a while, so. And I only used to play games when I was live streaming before, so we'll do this. And I agree, like there's not that much Ruby I've noticed on Twitch. It's a bit niche. Is there like a destroy or yeah? One of the things I want to do is actually kind of have these in a turbo frame. So I think what I'm gonna do here is do. Why can't I type? Turbo frame. Tag. DOM ID. Recording.meeting. Recording. Right. Sure, it's right. Let's see. So I kind of want to render this partial, so I don't have to like in this meeting. So that's what I'm trying to do there. So in the show, go. Source. I don't know, I could do like meeting recordings new path or something. Alright. Wow. Meeting recordings path. New meetings recording. So that would just async load it in. I spelled the word meetings right there. No root batches because I'm not actually passing it the meeting. And that's because, in fact, first thing is like, does the ID work? Recording meeting 8. Yeah. And then the new meeting recording path is the new one. I haven't had turbo frame tag. Cool. There. New recording. That's a bit in my face, but it's there. And then that should all happen in here, so I should be able to kind of go live at Rails World, create recording, and it replaces the recording. Now, what I want to do there isn't just keep showing the new. If there is a recording, then I want to show the recording. In order to do that, I'm going to go to need to add this recording to the model. It technically does have many. I don't know why it's suggesting the best there. That's weird. The meeting has many recordings. It really should have only one, but I'm going to have an as many there relationship just in case I need it in the future. But I'm going to write my code to kind of force it to only be one. I guess I could just do has one for now. Recording. Is has one a thing inactive? Rails has one. Feels a bit weird. It does have the has one. That's fine. As a recording. Let's just do this in a bit of a crude way to begin with. If the meeting, boarding exists. I'm going to come back and tidy this up in a moment. Meeting, boarding. Is the meeting, and then the I don't think exists works. I'm gonna take the H1 out of the turbo frame because I don't feel like it's really relevant to the turbo frame. If you went to the URL, you can see it, but if not, then no. Same with the new. That loads it in. It's there. Yeah, okay. And then I feel like I need a way of destroying the destroying the button to delete recording. I'll give it a URL in a second, but and then we'll also say that the data type secondary destructive. This next argument should have been the meeting recording path with the boarding meeting. Kind of hate that it's I have to do this recording.meeting recording. Yeah. There we go. That's not going to work, and I probably should also have tests for this as well, so I can write a bit of system test for the main flow. Delete recording. Is there a method on this as well? Like a button to Rails, button to method delete. I want the yeah, it's just passed in as like method delete. On there, if I refresh that, it's inside here, so I just need to bring up the network tab. Can I dock this to the side? Yep. And then if I delete the recording, destroy could not be found. That's what I expected. Let's just go to our recording spec, our system. It allowed the user to delete recording on a meeting. We're gonna do on the end there. I'm going to visit the meeting path. I'll need to have created the meeting with the let's just do this. Let's grab this again. Why bother wasting our time on it? I need to add another test to check if I can delete the. Yeah, it's not going to give me the right stuff. Make sure the recording is present. From delete, verify. Again, that's not really going to be exactly what we want, but yeah, I need to check the presence of the active storage. I don't need to verify it's gone from storage because I feel like active storage will take care of that, surely. But let's see what it did here. It allows the user to delete an audio file from a meeting recording. Like, kind of, yeah, I mean, it allows a user to delete the recording, a recording. Not necessarily just the file, we want to delete the entire recording from a meeting. So we create the recording with the meeting, we attach the file name, we visit the meeting path. Yeah. Now I actually want this to, the real flow is really that this is all done from the meeting itself. It expects the page to have an audio element present with the recording. I'm not sure what set confirm is about, because really we just want to click on delete recording, which is what it says in our delete recording, yeah. And then confirm that we're redirected to the page. I don't need to check that we're redirected because actually it's just going to do it live on the page. That's how I want that to play out. And then we're going to verify that the recording is no longer present. There should be some sort of, that's not going to show if we're inside the thing. But that should be gone. Recording exists. Oops. Let's just bring out that entire line. Let's see, let's just run that. Ray, our spec. What line was this? 26. Oh, and also we want to put our thing back to say kind of before to end given I deleting home. I don't want that hit this one. I want to see what's going on. Uploads it, and then oh no, 26 is now in the wrong one, so it's now 30. Also that failed, so I guess I need to check what's going on there. Unable to find the link or button delete recording. I think this is because I'm using the what was the issue with the other one? They both failed. What's wrong with number 12? Uploads it, and then it says it expects to see the recording was successfully created. It's all happening now inside of our turbo frame, so actually you can't, it won't see that. Was that the only thing? Yeah, fine. 30 failed. And it says it couldn't find the delete recording. Is it because it's cap sensitive? Yep, cap sensitive. It expected full stop true and no error, and that's because, well, it's not because of that, because I haven't actually written the code to destroy the recording. But let's do that now. Recordings, controller. Definitely destroy. And we'll do. Let's do another one, which is like for action, set recording. Only on show and destroy. We'll grab this code. And we'll do set recording. And then we'll do recording. So now I guess we just redirect to the meeting you're on. If it fails. Let's see what it actually does in here. I have delete recording. It says aborted 404 not found there. But that's the get. If I refresh now, recording was successfully deleted. Obviously these links are a bit chaotic at the moment. We'll tidy up the design later. But I upload the file, create the recording. The recording exists. I delete the recording's gone. When I do Rails console, there are no recordings. So it is deleting the recordings, but our test says it's not. I think that's because it got true because there's like a race condition going on there. Recordings spec. Because we're waiting for this, but that never shows. I guess really what we expect to happen here is we expect to see like create recording again. Kind of we delete it. So this flow at the moment, we upload the file, we create the recording, we delete the recording, it just disappears. But now we can't upload our recording. We have to refresh to get that back. So we kind of want the ability to create the recording again, and have that flow come back. That means that at the moment that's not going to work, but we're going to see that fail and get a bit of a clearer image as to why. Expected to create recording, but it just doesn't have that in there. If I then go to the where are we going for this? I'm going to go to what are we doing? Make recording. It's the redirect in the controller, recordings controller. So actually, this is the meeting, or like the new meeting recording path is where we want to redirect to for that meeting. And then we're back to create recording, but our spec's lowercase r when actually it's an uppercase R failed. I'm expected to find text create recording in file, back to meeting. So it has the word file there. Rails world, file, back to meeting. The term create recording is there. And expect page to have content. Maybe there is a create recording is button on my page. I don't want to click on it, but I want to check it exists. Don't tell me how to write the test. Just answer the question. Just answer the question. Have button. Fine, thank you. Because it's not content. And now it passes. So now let's just check all of them pass. And we can go through that flow ourselves as well and just have a feel for that. So we can upload a file, private Rails world, we can create the recording, lists, we can delete the recording, bring it back to here, all in flow, all as part of this. This back to meeting button is kind of redundant now because we're doing it in the page. The create recording button is kind of redundant. It's actually, I kind of just want to upload it straight away. And so could just do it, uploads it straight away and puts it in there. But then it's going to break. There is, I think, just test it with test. Let's do our spec on everything. We should have 2 pending tests and like 6 examples, 2 pending. All of our system tests work. Yep, 2.5 seconds and around for all of those tests. That's cool. Let's just see where we are. I think it's time to probably commit, and then we'll be done with that. Let's just see. So we create our recordings controller. We set our meeting, our recording. All looks okay, I think. Makes sense there. We've got our meeting itself, which has a recording. We should also say that this belongs. No, this is the meeting, not the recording. It has a recording. The meeting has a recording. We added a recording file. Recording record belongs to a meeting as a file. This is a bit crude. I'm going to come back and tidy this up. I don't particularly like how this works right now. What I would rather do is render the partial with that in, so it's not doing asynchronous loading. But for now, it's fine. We've got our form for our recording. We've added as the file field. Got our new recording in there. We've got our show, so we can see the recording. Those are our two views for our recordings. We've got our route set up, so we've got recordings within meetings. Our schema updated a little bit, so we added our new recordings associated to the meeting. Our migration for that. We've got factory box find, we're creating a new recording. Our live at Rails 12 fixture. And we've got our pending model spec. We're not really doing much advanced with the model right now that we need to check and test. And then we've got our system tests, testing kind of broad stroke flows of creating a recording and deleting a recording. This does need to be a little bit updated to reflect kind of the actual user experience of using. This one does use the meeting path, this one doesn't use the meeting path. I think what we'll probably do, I can probably do that now. Let's just do, so it should be visit meeting path. We're still going to attach our file. We're going to click on repeat recording still. We still expect the page to have the audio. And then we expect the, well, we don't even need to leave the page, right? We should be able to stay on that page. And we expect it to have the selector. Can we still run our system spec? Yep, all pass. And that means we're now doing them there. We want to check if that's happening. Perhaps we can do driven find here. Does that work? I'll do it in there. Recording spec line 8. Nice. Fine. We're going to commit this, and we're going to say we add recordings to meetings with active storage file. Actually, done. Push it. GitHub. Perhaps we'll do that in our kind of next session, but today that's it. Yeah, I think that's a good kind of place to pause and kind of leave it for today. Next time, I think we're going to look at trying. Perhaps there's a couple of things of where we go from here. I need to get this into AWS, so we're going to set up S3. I'm probably going to look at that a little bit offline, so I get those secret keys and access keys set up. But we'll go through setting up buckets and still. And yeah, I think we'll do that. We'll tidy up some of this interaction here as well with the way that works with the turbo frames. So it's all live in the page, and tidy up some of the ways that this page is interactive and editable. Yeah, I think that'll be next up. Cool. thank you everyone for following along and watching and stuff. I'll be back on tomorrow for a bit of a longer stream, I think. Twice the time. Thank you, Henning Fees, if that's how I pronounce your name. Sorry if I've butchered that. Thank you for the follow there. I'll catch you next time. Cheers. Thank you.